Yo, welcome back to the couch. I hope you guys are doing great out there. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about, is it better to drop a single, an EP, or an album? This is a question I get asked a lot, and for me over the years I've been really thinking about the same issue. Like every time I make music, because I don't usually make like one song, and I'm sure y'all can relate to this. I don't usually make one song when I produce. Sometimes I can be working on multiple tracks at the same time, and then when I have like this collection of tracks that I've made or songs that I've made, I end up with maybe 3 or 4 or 5 or even more that I have in the works. And then at the end of the day, come release season, now I gotta think about like, okay, what do I release first? And sometimes I can even have like 5 tracks that are totally finished, like to completion, that are totally ready. And then now you have to decide, okay, single, EP, or album. What do I release? And I'm sure even if you're a beginner and you're watching this, you might also be wondering, what should I do? So I'm going to give you, from my opinion, my take on, how to release and, how to choose which one of the 3 you should choose. So for me, I want to start with singles, right? For me, how I see singles is it's something that you want to release, especially and focus on if you're starting out in your journey of releasing music. I prefer you release singles. Like for me, I started releasing singles when I started. Even now, of course, I'm still releasing singles, but I'm just saying that focusing when you're starting out to release singles is a good idea, because you're just focusing on one thing and you don't add too much energy to multiple things. Because when I was starting out, I couldn't really super hyper focus on multiple tracks as much as I can do now, because I was still starting out. I wasn't that really seasoned in making music and production and all of that. So I could make one really good song, like just one, and then the rest will be all mids. Like the rest will be good, but they won't be as best as that one track. Like I remember when I used to produce a lot of hip hop, I used to have a collection of beats that are like a few, like maybe 3 beats that I knew, like out of the collection of all my beats, were the best, and then the rest, like the whole rest, the lot in my hard drive was just okay, but they were not beats that I would play for any artist that would come around and want to get beats from me. So it's that kind of thing. So that's why I'm just saying that when you're starting out, singles are a good thing to focus on, so that you put all your effort in that one track. And then next up, when we talk about EPs, I would say when you're now have improved, when you can now create multiple songs that sound really dope, and then your library is even more, I would say that's when you might think of dropping EPs, because EPs is around maybe 2 songs, 2 tracks, and then maybe going up to 5, right? That can be an EP, although an album can start from maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, just depending with how long the tracks are as well. But that's a whole conversation for another topic. You can even Google that, like what length of your whole project does it take for it to be an EP or an album. You can look that up. You'll find the information for that. And then when we go to an album is a whole different ball game now, because an album is like a really huge body of work where you're really presenting something that is at full length, like a proper full length album with a lot of songs that you're gonna need to to put out, and all these songs need to be coherent in terms of the whole body of work. So it's something that is truly serious, that you need to really put a lot of thought into putting out, instead of just putting it out like that. Okay, so now when it comes to choosing, let's say just generally, for me, I can speak only for myself in terms of how I release music, because I release music every year. Every year I release music. I wouldn't say that I release music every month, because some months I really don't feel like releasing anything. I probably just spend maybe a month or 2 producing, and then maybe the 3rd month I would have something ready. But it just depends. But for me personally, my thing is I like to release more singles, and then a little bit more EPs, and then less albums, if that makes sense. Because singles I can easily release, maybe let's say every month I can drop a single, every month if I want to, or every 2 months I can drop a single, because like I said, as I'm producing multiple tracks at the same time. But sometimes I don't feel like releasing all of them all at once will have the significant impact all together for all the tracks. Like think about it, if you release, let's say 3 tracks at the same time, do you think those 3 tracks are gonna get the same attention as opposed to, let's say, releasing 1 track at once? People will listen to 1 track at once and really pay attention to it. But if you release 3 tracks at the same time, people might listen to the first track and then the second track and maybe just skip the third track altogether, because it's just people, and attention spans are crazy nowadays. So that's how I look at it, you know, because think about it. When I was starting out, for me, and I'm sure y'all can relate as well, is when I started out, it was difficult just to get people to listen to one song. Now imagine you have to push people and tell people that you have 5 songs that you want to release, or even 3 songs, and then now you want people to take the time out of their day to listen to 3 songs of yours. So those are things you gotta kind of be realistic to yourself and be like, okay, how do people respond to me when I release one song, right? So that you can kind of have an idea of whether people are okay with listening to 2 songs, to 3 songs, to 4 songs, or even a full-on album. So for me, that's how I look at it. So for me, when I say that I release one song maybe here and there and release singles, because I know that it's tough for me to get people to just listen to this one song, and this goes for everyone. Like even big artists, sometimes they struggle to get people just to listen to one drop, like one single. So most of the time, that's why you see a lot of artists release like one single here and there, and then an album once in a while. Because I believe personally that if we're going back to like the old school way of dropping albums should be dropped like with like around 2 years. Like every 2 years you should drop an album. That's how it used to be. But obviously nowadays, especially in house music, there's a lot of people releasing nowadays. People are cooking, bro. People are really cooking, and people are releasing so much music that to still stay on that one album every year is not really gonna work. You still need to be visible, and you still need to actively show people that you're cooking. So yes, you can spend 2 years just dropping singles, but people are gonna still ask you for an album, like, yo, when's that album coming, you know? So you really have to just keep up with the frequency that other people are also releasing their own music and the kind of bodies of work. So you have to look around, like, okay, how often are people releasing singles? How often are people releasing albums? How often are people releasing EPs? And that can help you understand, you know, how often you should also release and what to release and when. Because there are seasons, if you really look at it. There's a season where everyone, especially like, you know, getting close to summers, everyone is dropping an album. Everyone is dropping, you know, their latest single or EP, because they know that, you know, it's summer. They want something that DJs can play and something that people can vibe to. And then when it's like off season, that's when people are just releasing maybe a single here and there. And then, you know, they wait for the next season where people can start to release, you know, all those hit songs that they were waiting on, you know, like going also to the end of the year and things like that. So that's just how I look at it, but it just depends with you and the kind of style of music that you make. So like I said, back to me, I like to release singles most of the time, because I know that my audience that is super fans that are really logged in will enjoy just, you know, those singles that I drop. And then an EP here and there when I don't think I have like a good enough body of work that is like a full-length album. And then, you know, I don't pressure myself to drop an album, but I just maintain single EP, single EP, single EP. But eventually when I do have something that I'm super confident in, that's a full-length album that I started working on as an album from the beginning, from the first track, and then I went on to complete the full project, then I know that, okay, I intentionally created this project from the beginning with the intention of it being an album, instead of me just picking 10 songs that, you know, that I love, that I want to release, and then I just call that album and just put them together. I don't think that format works, but you let me know down below what you think. How do you release? Do you release singles, EPs, or albums? When do you do it? How do you choose which one to release and when, and all those details? I'm sure that'll be interesting to hear from you guys. But that's it. That's all I had to say about this topic. I think I've shared as much as I could about this. If you have any questions or anything you want to share, again, you can drop it down below in the comments. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button and also drop this video a like. I'm gonna catch y'all in the next video that I'll drop here on the channel. I'm X and I'm out. Peace.